Well, the extent of the threat posed by climate change is the subject of our face-off debate tonight. And it is an emotional, a controversial issue. And the emotionalism that surrounds it isn't of itself fascinating, at least to me. Joining me now is Philip McAleer. He is the director and the producer of the documentary, Not Evil, Just Wrong, who you just saw, by the way, questioning Al Gore. Good to have you with us. And Fred Krupp. He is the president of the Environmental Defense Fund. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
I just said, let's deal with the first issue. Why is something like in climate change so emotional, such a, if you will, contentious issue? It seems there are straightforward facts that would be there for everyone to either agree upon or disagree, stay away from the ambiguous, and deal with the salient and crystal clear. Why don't we do that?
Well, I think just like a lot of things in Washington, Lou, climate change has become a bit of a partisan football. But now there is a bipartisan pathway forward. In the New York Times just on Sunday, both Lindsey Graham, the conservative Republican senator from South Carolina, and John Kerry agreed on a market-based path forward, the same sort of cap-and-trade system that was used so successfully in the 1990s to combat acid rain. So hopefully we're getting across that partisan divide right this week.
All right. First of all, you were working hard to get a straightforward answer from the former vice president. What drove your inquiry?
Well, as the organizer said, this was the first time in 4 years he'd agreed to take questions from reporters. That's a disgrace. For someone who says the world is ending, the world is in crisis, that he won't put the facts out there and take difficult questions is bizarre. I must believe that he doesn't really believe the world is about to end. So I went there to ask him. This documentary has been shown in schools across America and across the world to children who get scared about these scare tactics. And I wanted to say, you have a moral duty either to accept the judge's rulings and issue corrections or reject the judge's rulings. But you haven't the moral, you have no right to not refuse to answer those questions.
What do you think?
Well, Lou, first of all, the vice president takes questions from reporters routinely. He took questions on September 22nd. He took questions from reporters at the UN September 24th. He took questions at this event. So actually, after Phelim had his say, it was in a desire to take more questions that other journalists were waiting in time. So the idea that he hasn't taken questions in 3 years is just wrong. He takes questions weekly.
All right, well, let's go to a couple of things. The BBC climate reporter this weekend, I think, probably shook up the society there a bit this weekend, talking about the fact that over the course of this new millennia, young though we are, 9 years into it, I think he begins his lead. You may be surprised to learn that the hottest year recorded is not 2008, not 2007, nor one of the previous, the last 10 years, but rather you have to go back to 1998. And I have to say, I think most people would say, what? Because they've been led to believe that the climate is warming almost daily.
Well, Lou, actually, if you look at the trend line, it's undoubtedly definitely rising up. There's year-to-year variability because of El Niños, but when you plot the dots on the trend line, we're going up. Since 2000, all 8 years, 2001 to 2008, have been 8 of the 14 warmest years on record. And 2009, when the data comes in, this decade will be the warmest decade since we've been keeping records.
Well, that's just not true. And let's be honest, the climate models, those great climate models that say we're all going to die by 2050, missed this cooling period. In fact, if it cools much longer, it'll be cooling longer than it warmed. And the same environmentalists who are now saying it's warming, 20 and 30 years ago, were saying we're going to have an ice age. I'm old enough to be at school, and I was told that we're going into a new ice age. So for them, for these people to say, for people like Fred to say that the facts aren't there, it has cooled. It hasn't warmed in 13 years, and it was warmer before. Britain was warmer. They used to grow wine in Yorkshire, in Britain, probably really poor wine. But if they did grow wine, grapes were growing there. It has been warmer before, and these are all part of the natural variability of climate. And and who's to say that 10 years ago the climate was perfect then? Why are we so obsessed with the climate is warming or cooling? Helsinki is one of the coldest places on the planet. It's very rich. Singapore is one of the wealthiest places on the planet. It's very hot. Man will adapt. But it's not. This is not. You should not close down the American economy and drive jobs out of America and stop using fossil fuels for fake science.
The good news, Phelim, is it's not fake science. If you go to the National Academy of Sciences or look at the reports from NASA, anyone in our audience can go to the website. You can see that this decade has been the warmest on record. But the good news is, even if we don't convince you of that, and I hear both arguments, maybe it's not warming, and even if it is, so what? The good news is we have a common sense plan that's tried and tested in the United States, a market-based plan that will keep America in the driver's seat for the economy. Lou, China...
You said keep us in the driver's seat. I just got to interrupt you there. This is the driver's seat we're in right now?
Lou, it's a common sense plan by a millionaire head of an environmental organization with big business to keep smaller competitors out. It's about regulating and keeping big business in the position it's in by these millionaire environmental organizations.
Not so. We have a website.
Fred earns $500,000 a year. Do the people of America want their future and their economy to be decided by a millionaire lawyer who calls himself an environmentalist, working with big business, keeping competitors out and bringing in increased regulation?
There's a website called Less Carbon, More Jobs, where a series of small businesses have come out saying, pass cap and trade, and the cap puts a driver in place that allows...
So you're supporting cap and trade?
Supporting cap and trade, Lou, because it gives the economic incentives for energy efficiency that will reduce our dependence on foreign oil.
You call that a market solution. That is, it is extraordinarily based on government intervention in the marketplace. How could you call that a market solution? I'm not discussing the merits of cap and trade, but my God, if that's not government intervention, what is?
Yes, the government creates a market, that's true. And for these tragedies of the commons, it's what George H.W. Bush put in place. It's the best of the Republican intellectual capital. It creates incentives to get new jobs for Americans.
All right, Fred, thank you very much. Bill, thank you. We're just playing out of time. I hope you all will come back soon. We need a lot more time, obviously. Thanks so much. Up next.